Rome is burning. Flames consume the greatest city in the ancient world. Panic fills the streets, homes collapse. Thousands are left homeless, and in the aftermath, one man needs someone to blame. That man is Nero, and the group he chooses, the Christians. Tonight, we explore one of the darkest chapters in early Christian history, the Great Fire of Rome 64 AD, why Christians were blamed, the brutal persecution that followed, and the martyrdom of Peter the Apostle and Paul the Apostle. This is the story of faith under fire. In July of 64 AD, a massive fire broke out in Rome. Ancient historian Tacitus records that the fire lasted several days and destroyed large sections of the city. Rome was densely populated. Wooden buildings stood close together. Fire spread quickly. Rumors began to circulate. Some believed Nero himself had ordered the fire. Why? Because Nero had grand architectural ambitions. He wanted to rebuild Rome in his own image. After the fire, he constructed a massive palace complex called the Domus Aurea, the Golden House. Whether Nero started the fire or not is debated. But the suspicion was dangerous. He needed to redirect public anger. Christians were a small but growing minority in Rome. They were misunderstood and mistrusted. Here's why they became easy targets. They refused to worship Roman gods. Christians would not honor the emperor as divine. They met privately. Their secret gatherings led to suspicion. They spoke of the body and blood of Christ. Outsiders misunderstood this as cannibalism. They were socially separate. They did not fully participate in pagan festivals. To Roman society, Christians seemed strange, exclusive, even dangerous. Nero exploited this fear. Tacitus writes that Nero blamed Christians and subjected them to extreme punishment. Nero's persecution was cruel and public. Christians were arrested, tortured, covered in animal skins and torn apart by dogs, crucified, burned alive to serve as human torches in Nero's gardens. This was not merely punishment, it was spectacle. The goal was humiliation and terror. This marked the first major imperial persecution of Christians. According to early Christian tradition, Peter was arrested during this persecution. He was sentenced to crucifixion. But Peter reportedly requested to be crucified upside down, saying he was not worthy to die in the same manner as his Lord. His execution likely took place around 64-67 AD. He died as he had lived, proclaiming Christ. The leader of the 12 apostles became a martyr in Rome. Paul was also in Rome during Nero's reign. Unlike Peter, Paul was a Roman citizen. Roman citizens were typically not crucified. Instead, Paul was sentenced to beheading. Tradition places his execution along the Ostia Way outside Rome. The man who once persecuted Christians died as a faithful witness of Christ. Before his death, Paul wrote, "I have fought a good fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith." Did Nero stop Christianity? No. In fact, persecution strengthened the church. Why? Because martyrdom demonstrated sincerity. Christians were willing to die rather than deny Christ. Their courage spread the faith even further. What Nero intended to destroy, he unintentionally amplified. Nero's persecution set a precedent. Future emperors would follow similar patterns, but Christianity continued to grow. Within 3 centuries, from persecuted minority to legally recognized religion, to eventually becoming dominant in the Roman Empire, the blood of the martyrs became the seed of the church. The flames of Rome tried to silence Christianity. But fire cannot burn truth. Nero blamed believers to protect his power. Yet history remembers Nero for cruelty, and Peter and Paul for faith. One ruled an empire, the other shaped eternity. The persecution under Nero reminds us, faith is not always safe, truth is not always popular. But the gospel is worth everything, from burning streets, to prison cells, to execution grounds. The message of Christ survived, and it still stands today.